Hello, this is Jaymie White with Global Diversity News, bringing you another podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a kind of a different rendition on the GDN Business Talk. This is episode 4. Usually, we bring on a person, either a leader of an organization or a business, and we kind of talk about their goals, a little bit about their business, and how that affects minority, small business, women, or diversity, if you will, in general. Today is going to be a little bit different. I recently attended the Chrysler Matchmaker, which is a conference that goes on for a couple of days. It was September 14th through the 16th in the Detroit area, Auburn Hills, which is about 35, 40 minutes outside of the city. But it was held by, obviously Fiat Chrysler. And essentially what it is they, what do you call it? They invite a group of diverse small businesses, which include, minority, women-owned, veteran-owned, disabled, etc., to come in and connect with their tier ones. So if you're not familiar with it, Fiat Chrysler, essentially what they do is they buy products from other companies. So they may buy seats from one company, they may buy, steering wheels from another, plastics, leather from another, et cetera, et cetera. So what they do is they invite the companies that provide these different types of products for them, and then they try to match them with diverse suppliers. So that way, when they're building their seats, they may have a diverse supplier to provide, for example, like the leather or something like that. So essentially, that's kind of what the conference was. Really good turnout, and I wanted to talk about it, kind of the benefits that I see, kind of who is there, who needs to be there moving forward, and things like that. So to go through it, I actually invited Ray, Ray Hayes, as always, joining us on the podcast. So Ray, thanks for coming on with me.
Oh
Right?
yeah, no problem, Jamie. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, thought I lost you there for a second.
Oh yeah, it's all good.
Yep.
No, I'm here.
Yeah. So the benefit is that you've never been to the Chrysler Matchmaker or really any conference when it comes to minority businesses, correct? Or have you?
No, you're right. I haven't. No, I haven't at all. So I'm definitely kind of interested in seeing what what it's all about as far as how did the conference go and basically what's the point of it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly why I brought you on, just to ask those questions because a lot of our listeners are in business in whatever field,
Right.
but a lot of them aren't, and a lot of them I'm
Right.
suspecting want to know more about how to get involved with these large corporations. Where to start. Kind of what to expect when it comes to
Yeah.
trying to connect with them. So that's exactly why I brought you on to kind of ask those questions. Um,
And also, real quick, Jamie, like,
yeah.
how do you go about finding out about these conferences? Do
Um,
you
yeah, that's a good question.
do you look them up by yourself? Do you look them up on your own, or
Yeah, no,
do
no.
people email you the information about hey, come to it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. With anything when it comes to different conferences, you really have to try to link into like a network, if you will. So joining any type of
Okay.
organization, for example, if you want to do, science, I want to know more about the biomedical fields, joining your local organizations. What they'll do is they'll provide, they'll email you different conferences or maybe networking events or, just different events that go on, each month. And then you can attend. And I mean, once you attend, that's pretty much it. You just continue to network and finding out more about, different opportunities. And as always, you can also search, via, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, and things like that. But I would suggest like networking organizations just because it's a lot more focused on what you're looking for. So you don't have to kind of like run the gambit of searching through a Google or LinkedIn and not really knowing if this conference, although it may seem like it may be right for you, it may provide you with a lot of opportunities. You really don't know. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. That makes total sense.
Okay.
Because I mean, I obviously kind of figured that it's more about networking and people sending you information about these conferences. So I kind of figured that, but that makes sense. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. So Chrysler Matchmaker. Let's get into it a little bit. This is I think it's my fourth or fifth year attending it, so I'm pretty, I guess, well known and well versed in kind of what to expect. Uh, some of the companies that are going to be there, I pretty much met them all, well, maybe, or at least 85, 90%. And this year, a lot of the same players. Essentially, if you want to do business with Fiat Chrysler, if you want to get in on their next car that they're coming out with, like Chrysler 300 or the 200 or things like that. You got to be there. You got to show your face, and you have to try to connect with any of the purchasers and whatnot that are there. One thing that I like about it is
Okay.
that it's located. They have it located at their headquarters, so it's in Auburn Hills. So you're actually at the Chrysler headquarters, talking to the different organizations, just so that you know that hey, Chrysler's committed. Not only that, but they also in the
Okay.
early morning had their executives walking around. So seeing the conference as it was going on, seeing the different minority-owned businesses, and understanding that hey, this is something that is important, and we should continue to go move
Now,
forward
question.
with. Yep.
David, do the executives they go around interacting with the audience as well, or do they just go just with a select group of people walking around just looking at certain stuff, or do they interact?
That's actually a
How does
good.
that work?
That's a good point. I actually missed that part. From what I understand, they actually went around.
Oh,
They were
okay.
actually talking to some of their tier ones and the minority-owned businesses. So people who had tables at the
Okay. Okay.
conference. So they did interact. And that's from me talking to a couple of companies who said that they saw the executives. They said they definitely came over and spoke with them. One thing that I would like to note about Fiat Chrysler that is very unusual in the whole small supplier diversity industry is that Fiat Chrysler actually a portion of their contracts. And I think I've told you this about this. I think I told you about this before, Ray. Is that a percentage of a contract when they're looking to hire different companies goes towards minority and women-owned businesses. So I think it's about 5%. I want to say. So basically, when they're looking at the quality of a company, when it comes to, for example, a seat manufacturer, they look at the quality. How long does it take to build the seat and then get it to them? Things such as references. One of the things that is also included is how much do you spend with minority and women-owned businesses. So this is very key in the Fiat Chrysler structure and organization when it comes to providing $1 million contracts for years and years and years. So it's definitely and that's something that you really don't see in any other major organization like that. So
And I remember you like telling me about that previously in the past, and like Chrysler, like you were telling me, like Chrysler has 5% set aside for minority-owned uh entrepreneurs, or I mean, people who are trying to build something. But it's more than just Chrysler. There's thousands of other countries that
oh, right,
do
right.
this hybrid. Thousands of countries do it. That's what I was intrigued the most. When you told me that, that's when we started talking more about diversity in business, and that's how we brought up the idea of global diversity news and all that stuff. But after that talk alone, that's what intrigued me the most, to learn more about what's this concept of what diversity is. So yeah, you're definitely right about that.
Yep, right, right. Yep. So yeah, that's a really good point. That's global diversity news. But so let's go ahead and let's actually talk about the conference. And because I know a lot of, if you do run a business or if you're curious about attending a conference, this is definitely what you're here for, what you want to know about. So, uh, first things first, just being really general, there's a lot of corporations. You have to understand what conference you're going to. So, if it's Fiat Chrysler, obviously there's going to be a lot of automotive companies there. So the automotive
Right.
companies that were there, and these are very I guess I'm not gonna say niche, but they're not as well known in terms of as like a Ford, but they do products for cars, motorcycles, and things like that, trucks, etc. But so for example, you had like the Delphis, the Denzos, were in attendance. You had, you think, Lear. You had a couple of companies walking around like Herman Miller, Ison. So basically, a lot of big players. Uh, when it comes to doing business with or trying to do business with Fiat Chrysler. But again, when you're talking about that type of conference, you're going to see a lot of automotive companies or a lot of companies that offer things to either, for example, like an office space, which is like a Herman Miller, which does furniture, or like products on a car, like a Delphi or a Denso or Goodyear tires, for example, Michelin, etc., things like that, PPG. So one of
Like,
the, yep, what were you going to ask?
I'll say, did you see a lot of organizations like energy efficient new technologies as far as tires or something that's energy efficient? You see a lot of energy efficient organizations there as well.
Oh, that's actually a really good
Automotive
question.
organizations.
That's actually a really good question. Energy efficient. So let's take a step back from that and more so like innovative companies that are trying to do something different, right? I think that's more of the question. Hello?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely, definitely.
yeah. I so all
And the
companies.
reason I'm asking too, Jamie, is because like you hear a lot about like with the Teslas about the electric cars or
Yeah.
just automotive companies trying to be more energy efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So different ways as far as going away from gas and stuff like that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I asked that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. It makes complete sense. So a lot of there's a huge push within the automotive sector just in general to do exactly what you just said and just find innovative ways to run a car. So the technology that's coming out in all of those companies that I named are moving towards uh, honestly like a tech based car. Like what the automotive companies are really trying to push the market to, or so let's take a step back from that. In automotive, you had like the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s where car companies are really basically building things big because America likes big things, right? Then you had the Japanese companies that came in and kind of uh, you know pushed the market, if you will, to a more smaller, fuel efficient type of car, right? And this is just like in general, right? We're not going to talk about luxury vehicles or big cars or like trucks and things like that. Those are
okay,
those are a little bit different, but just in general,
okay,
Japanese companies made cars a lot more quote unquote affordable, fuel efficient, and
right,
smaller. So because of that, the American automotive companies like a Fiat Chrysler, GM, and Ford had to adapt. So they had to like basically join with that whole new technology phase. Now, what you have coming along, like you said, is more energy efficient. Uh, Google is trying to create a self-driving car. I think they kind of backed off
right,
on that a little bit, but I think Apple's also looking towards getting into the automotive. But what you're seeing now is more when you look on your dashboard, there's a ton of technology that's kind of running your car. And what's happening now in the automotive is that's just expanding. So they're trying to put even more technology in that
okay,
car so that you know exactly what's going on with your car. So when you're running into different issues with it, or like we're talking about energy efficiency and all that good stuff. Like all companies are really pushing towards that. So there's not just Tesla.
okay,
So there's no one Tesla kind of moving the market, if you will, when it comes to that. It's multiple companies now that have adapted to that. 5 6 years, yeah, about five, yeah, geez, it's when we were in college. So yeah, it's about 5 6 years ago. Like Tesla kind of came out and said, "This is what we're doing." Now the market's kind of moved towards that, so now kind of everybody's doing that.
right. Yeah, more than one.
Yep,
Okay,
exactly.
okay,
Yeah, but yeah. So when you're at a conference like that, just asking those questions is always good. But I do want to say that it's not just automotive companies, or not. Excuse me. You don't just have to do try. You don't have to try to just do business with Fiat Chrysler. As I mentioned before, when you have like their different, we call them tier ones. So people who provide services for Fiat Chrysler, you can go ahead if you're a company who does marketing, for example. There's about 50, somewhere between geez, I don't want to give, I honestly don't know, but we'll say around 50-ish. That sounds like a pretty good
mm-hmm.
number. Companies that you could possibly be doing business with as a small business. uh, If you're doing sort of
Wow.
marketing, maybe
Can you
software
name one?
that you can Delphi, for example, is one who's looking
Okay.
for different because for example, Delphi does do uh, certain products for uh for Fiat Chrysler, but as I explained before, 5% of that contract they have to do
Hmm.
business with diverse vendors. So they're there looking for diverse
Right.
vendors so that they can meet those contract requirements for Fiat Chrysler. So this isn't an option. This is
Okay.
this is mandatory. So because of that, you've got these 50 organizations who are doing business with Fiat Chrysler who need those diverse suppliers so that they can continue to meet these requirements. Otherwise, they're going to lose those contracts.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's a ton of opportunity. When you go to big conferences like this, I do want to keep perspective kind of realistic, and what that means is you're
Hmm.
not going to get $1 million contract, the next day. In fact, you're not going to get a million. You're not going to
Okay.
get a contract probably from the first time you meet a company. You're probably not going to get a contract until at least you've known them for a year, and that's if you're a completely new
A
player.
year. Okay.
Yeah, and that's if you're a completely new player. Um, and that's just being realistic. Uh,
So first off, so when you're at the conference, just trying to introduce yourself, your product,
e-
and just get your name out there,
exactly,
and then build your network through email or calling and so
exactly.
on. Then you can gain your contract. Okay.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. I was reading. I forgot what book I was reading. But they were like, you know, closing the deal at first contact is like less than 1%, like 1% chance. They're like closing the deal at your 10th or 11th contact is like an 80% chance that you'll close.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So this you have to see these people over and over again. For example, I mean, just an example with my company, Diversity Reporting Solutions, like from first contact to one of our deal closing, it took us about, I want to say, 3 years. And that's pretty
Wow.
normal. Yeah, because you're dealing with the automotive sector when you're talking about Fiat Chrysler, so they're going to take a little bit longer than, let's say, your consumer based companies like an Apple or Google. Well, I guess Fiat Chrysler would be kind of a consumer base. But when I say like that, when you think like Apple and like Google and those type of companies, they're a little bit different than versus like the automotive, which is automotive. You're gonna get like they very rarely, let me take that back. They very rarely do like 1 year contracts. Like to get into automotive, they're going to do like 3, 4, 5 year contracts because they want to know like, hey, if you're going to be on for this model that we're building, the Ford Focus, for example, we want you to do the Ford Focus, 2017, 2018, 2019, and then 2020, you know. So they usually
Okay.
sign on. So because of that, it's going to take a lot longer to get in with those companies because at first contact, if you're doing something that they already have a service for, they're probably in the middle of a 3 year contract or a 4 year contract. So because
All
of
right.
that,
So that you can really just know you can't like they can't really do business with you just yet because
yeah,
they're waiting to put their contracts in.
exactly. And that's if they're unhappy. So yeah, so that's why when we're talking about the automotive companies, that's why it's a little bit, it's kind of like that versus other industries. Um, but yeah, so definitely, obviously knowing your product in and out. One of the worst things you can do at a conference like this is say we do
Hmm.
everything. Never say we do
Now, why is
everything.
that?
Because if you say you do everything, you do nothing. Because
So you need to specialize in something in particular.
yeah, well, you specialize and specify.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, exactly. You have to
Oh, okay.
specify exactly.
Specialize and specify.
Yeah, exactly. Because if they're looking for a certain type of, let's say, because I don't want to go too like automotive, because then people be like, what the hell is that item? But let's say if you do,
Huh.
let's say if you do paint, right? And your
Okay.
job is to
Okay.
paint, we'll say doors. You're the guys who paint, doors, whatever color they want to be, whatever, right? If you don't
Hmm.
have, if you can only paint, 5 colors or whatever, you got to let them know that, because the last thing you want to do is say we paint all colors, and then you're going through the bidding process, or if you do get the contract and they're like, okay, we want you to paint this red, and you're like, oh, we can't do that. Well, guess what? Now both of you are screwed. Like, yeah, exactly.
They can take your contract away. You lost the money.
Exactly, they can
For the
do that.
opportunity.
Exactly, but these bidding contracts take like 6 months to a year, and if you can't do that,
Okay.
they just signed a contract. You can't paint their seats a certain color. They just signed a contract with Fiat Chrysler, for example. So now what are they supposed to do?
Right.
They still have to meet those requirements.
We're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to understand like the part that you play, and you can't say we do everything, because first off, nobody does everything. There's no company in the world that does everything. As great as Google is, exactly, as great as Apple is or Google is, they don't do everything. But
they ain't making fruit yet. They ain't making apples and oranges yet. Gotta give them time. You gotta give them time, Jaymie.
That's funny. But give it time. But yeah, so never say that you do everything. Just specify what your product is, and if there's opportunity, you'll get rewarded for that. So yeah.
Okay.
So another thing that I want to talk about is where is location. Now, a lot of people think that this may just be for businesses that are in Michigan, but that is completely and utterly false. For example, I know a corporation who has 13 different facilities, and they're throughout the South, West Coast, and Midwest. And if they have a facility in California, or if they have a facility in Texas or Tennessee, they need companies who can service those facilities. So if the company in California or whatever does plastics, they need people who can service plastics around California. So just because this conference is located in Michigan, you can still do services for them in other facilities that are also with that company.
Outside of Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. So this is for companies who aren't necessarily in Michigan and who may want to do business with automotive companies, but they're like, I don't know if I should try to go up there. Absolutely, you should definitely go up there for Chrysler Matchmaker. Or any one of the big threes conferences.
Also, can't they ship? You could ship. I mean, I'm sure you could ship your product too to a certain location if they need you. Or is that possible? How does that work?
Well, I mean, it depends on what the product is, right? But
okay.
That's possibly. But when you're dealing with companies like that, they want, what happens if something happens to the product and they need you to do something with it fast? Where they have to wait for you to ship it back. Yeah, that's why they want people who are near them. Yeah, that's why they want somebody right next to them. So if something goes wrong, they can just call you up and say, "Hey, we need you in here right now."
Okay. Down the street, it's not gonna take a day or two.
Exactly.
Take a few hours.
Exactly. Right,
okay.
So you really want to be local. That's why I'm saying, like, if they have a facility in Texas, even though the conference is in Michigan, you should definitely make your way up there.
Okay, gotcha. 10-4.
Yeah, no, really good question. Another thing that I want to talk about, because we are dealing with automotive companies, and I mean, this is just the reality. Some people may like it, some people may hate it, but again, this is the reality of where we're at as a global society. If you have connections, or if your company does services outside of the U.S., that's also really good. If they have facilities outside of the U.S., a really big one is Mexico, for example. So if you have a facility in Mexico, or if you're able to do any type of translations, or you have a facility in Texas close to one of their Mexican facilities, that's also a big coup for you, and you definitely also want to attend that conference as well.
Okay.
For Americans, like, I've actually visited, a facility outside of the U.S., like in Mexico, just to see, like, where are they when it comes to equipment, when it comes to expertise, when it comes to, employment, things like that, costs and all that stuff. Right. I mean, in my view, after seeing this firsthand, and just being realistic and honest with myself and with I guess my listeners, those jobs aren't coming back. Like like you may hear, yeah, and this
Right.
is my opinion, but like you hear presidents and especially with the election season, people promising to return jobs and whatnot from outside of Mexico and whatnot, and they're not coming back. The quality,
Yeah, because it's
the cost,
cheaper labor. I mean, compared. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just everything involved. And the one thing that was always an issue when it comes to outside of the U.S. was quality.
Mm-hmm.
And 20, 20, 30 years ago, like that was actually you could make that argument, that the quality
Right.
wasn't as good. But now, I think the facility I went to, they said that it's 99%, 99, yeah, 99% as good as if it was made in like the U.S. or something like that.
So the companies are not no longer just investing in their product going there, but they're investing in the facilities that are producing their products as well.
100% exactly right.
Is that what you said?
Yep, that's 100% exactly right.
Okay.
Like the quality is exactly where they want it, where they need to. Obviously, there could be like, improvements. There always can be improvements, but I mean, we're hitting 98, 98, 99% of facilities outside of the US, and it's just cheaper. And even if, taxes are raised when it comes to imports from like a Mexico or, an Asian or South American market or what have you, like even with those increases, it's still less to produce items outside of the US. You know? So just looking
Right.
at it
I
from
understand.
just looking at it from a business perspective, like those jobs, what America needs to do is redefine what our offerings are, figure out what we're good at, and that we have
Mm-hmm.
in-house currently, and then
Okay.
grow that. Because one thing that America is always great at, and we've always been good at, is innovation. For some reason, we've always been spearheading and kind of like the first when it comes to creating different technologies and just I guess innovation, just in general. And because of that, we've always been the leaders. And despite what everything else is saying and everybody else is saying, we're still that. And we are globally recognized as that in terms of innovators when it comes to different types of technologies, different types of manufacturing and energy, etc. So we definitely, since that is our key, we need to continue on that route and just expand on that, in my opinion. Um,
Gotcha. I agree with
yeah.
you on that. Totally agree.
Yep. So yeah. That's kind of my take
Stop
on that.
focusing. Like, let's stop focusing on like we're gonna bring this back. We're gonna bring that back. Like you said, Jaymie, innovation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make something new.
Yeah.
Create
Exactly.
something new.
Because now that we're Because now that we're in a global economy, like there's jobs are going to be going all over the place. So jobs, it may be in Mexico, for example, right now. For all we know, 10 years from now, I might get moved to Africa or South America. Those same jobs.
Right.
Jobs are
You
going
never
to,
know.
yeah, exactly. Jobs are going to keep moving all over the place just because we're a global economy right now. The only people, in order to be a leader, you got to be an innovator. And luckily for us, that's where we're at right now, and we need to continue on that. I do think, I do have my, opinions on some things that we can kind of move toward in terms of sectors. Like I think energy is going to be really big. Whoever can find that alternative source. And right now, from what I understand, China has a really big, solar power energy like push right now. So I do think that
Yeah.
in terms of energy for that, we could probably focus a little bit better on that. But that's another story. I'm getting a little bit off.
Side of the point.
Yeah,
Right.
let's go back to the conference. Back to the Fiat Chrysler
Like
conference.
question, Jaymie.
Yep.
Jaymie, I have a question for you. Okay. At this conference, I mean, you're going around, you're seeing different things, seeing different stuff. As you're walking around, you see other people's faces, like similar to you or doing things similar to you at the conference. What's the age range of the
Oh, that's a really good
of
question.
the minority business, or what's the age range? What's some of the demographics? I mean, can you talk about that?
Yeah, demographics. Yeah, I mean, because that's a really good question. So demographics, because we're in Michigan, it's going to be majority black. So there's just in terms of ethnicities, there's just going to be a lot of black people in general. If we were in Florida or Texas, it'd be
A lot of
majority.
Hispanics.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of Hispanics, and yeah, it'd be a lot of Hispanics. If we were in California, certain parts of California, it'd be a lot of Asians. So because
Right. Okay.
it was in Michigan, it was just majority black people. So that's kind of how that broke down. In terms of age range,
Okay.
when you're dealing with the corporations, we're talking, uh, generally older. So we're talking about like 50s, maybe 60s. Um,
Wow. So you're one of the youngest people there, really.
yeah, not as young as I used to be, but yeah, even still, and
Oh,
that's
well.
yeah, you're gonna see that in general when it comes to a lot of B2B businesses, especially businesses where it takes 2 to 3 years to like get into a company or what have you, as the norm.
Now,
So
why do you think that's the case though? Is it
it,
because people our age don't know much about these conferences, or I mean, what do you? What's the reason why we don't
so
see people a lot? I mean,
so you
in
hit
30s and 40s at these conferences.
yeah, so you hit the head right, you hit it the nail right on the head. A lot of people just don't know that these conferences exist. I mean, I think that was
Okay.
one of our
Okay.
biggest complaints, like that we always said is that you know I appreciate the NMSCC and whatnot, but in the past they've just not done a good job in really marketing what they offer. Um, and
Okay.
and this is just another point where they just don't market. The people who they market to are the people who already have businesses, right? When you're dealing with 22,
That's a problem.
23, yeah, 22, 23 year olds, obviously we're not gonna have businesses. Uh,
Because, like you said innovation. Where are the innovators at? People, I mean, the people who are trying to go about inventing things but don't own it yet, don't have created it yet. So, how are you interacting with those people?
yeah, I mean you can be
I see what you're saying.
you can be
Okay.
innovative, and age doesn't equal innovation. So
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm
yeah,
just saying, like, you're a little seasoned. You may be seasoned in the game if you're in your 60s. In my opinion, you mean you're
yeah, no,
seasoned
you're
in the
right.
game. You've been
You're right.
around the corner.
I
You've
get
been
you.
around the block.
I
You
get
have
what you mean.
experience.
I get what you mean. Okay, I get what you mean. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
in that instance, then yeah, you're absolutely right because season, like if you've been spent 15 years anywhere, you're going to be a little bit jaded versus somebody who's only in for
All
like
right.
a year or two or three. So yeah, I completely agree
Right. Right.
with what you're saying on that regard. But yeah, I mean, yeah, so yeah, obviously like just not being able to push it to like the 22, 23 year olds, and with that being said, I mean, I think that there's clearly we feel like there's value in that. Um, it's okay to push it to people our age range, even if we don't have a business, because just we may not have a business, but we may have an idea, you know, and that's where it starts. And getting in, and I would love to see maybe if they connect with. I mean I'm not saying they're not, because I'm just unaware, but maybe if they connected with the engineering departments at University of Michigan or something like that, just local, state, maybe, or
Yeah.
maybe Midwest type of schools, and kind of had them up
Yeah.
there at the conference, and talking to some of these companies so that they can get ideas on what they need. I mean, that might be a really good thing for them.
Or internship. I mean, internship idea as well too. I think that'd be
Well,
cool
I mean, yeah, Fiat Chrysler has
to have the
internships.
interns that can go on these terms.
Yeah, Fiat Chrysler has internships definitely. But I don't know
Yeah.
if they like openly just invite them to the conference. I'm not going to say they're not because I don't know, but I
Right.
would
Right.
say having a program for like engineers in college who are like minority women, et cetera, just bringing them out there just so that they know that this could be your future. You might want to be in Fiat Chrysler for 10, 15 years, and then you may want to start your own business. You know,
Okay.
so
Good information though, Jamie. I mean, like I said, I was intrigued. I mean, the age range, and the demographics. So
yeah, yeah. I mean,
that's definitely. I know. I mean, I know other people are intrigued too because you don't, like I said, if you don't have that network, then you don't hear about these conferences.
yeah,
So it's kind of
yeah. That and
win lose for some people.
no, I completely agree. And that's why Global Diversity News, especially when it comes to the weekly articles, which you can sign up for at globaldiversitynews.com. But I always have, at the very bottom, I have, different events coming up. Um,
That's key. That's
yeah,
key. That's definitely key.
so that you can attend. Click on the links and definitely figure out. if that's what you want. If it um, if it is close to or similar to what you're looking to get into. Just so people know, the National Minority Supplier Development Council is having their big conference in Chicago this year. Uh, it's going to be October 22nd, no, 23rd through the 26th. Yeah, 23rd through the 26th. So
Right.
that's a huge opportunity. If you want to go to like the trade fair, I think now it costs about $400 to get a ticket. So you can just go to the trade fair, and I mean, there you're going to be meeting with hundreds of corporations, which include, not only the automotives but also like energy sector. So you got like the Exxons and whatnot. You got technology companies such as like a Google, a Apple, you name it, they got it. Maybe airline companies such as like a Delta, Walmart.
That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
All the
So
big wigs,
yeah,
basically.
exactly. You name a big
Big
company.
name companies.
Exactly. You name a big company, they're going to be there. So that's a
That's
huge
perfect.
opportunity. And if you do go to that conference, I would say you don't necessarily have to go for the big names. Even though, funny enough, I just named all the big names. I'm completely contradicting myself. Uh, but no. In all fairness and in all seriousness, you don't have to go with all the big names because there's going to be hundreds of companies there. And if you're looking for
Right.
let's say $50,000 contract. Yeah, we'll just whatever, throwing a number out there. If you're looking for a $50,000 contract, do you really care if that $50,000 contract comes from Walmart or you know company B that you may never have heard of? No.
Just
Yeah,
depends.
yeah. I mean, 50,000.
I mean, you're just right now. If this is the first time, I mean, getting a contract. I mean, it can come from anybody. All you care.
Yeah,
The fact of it is, it's coming. You have it.
yeah,
You generated. I mean, the opportunity to get such a thing. So it wouldn't matter who it came from,
yeah.
in my opinion. And I wouldn't. It wouldn't matter to me.
Exactly. Like so, definitely like talk to as many companies, as many booths as you can, and also talk to the people who are on the floor because not all companies are going to have booths. I know this for a fact
Mm.
because for example, at the Fiat Chrysler Matchmaker, I've spoken with enough companies. So there were a couple of companies who didn't have booths who were just walking around talking to people who I just like, oh hey, what's going on? You guys got a
Do they,
booth? Um,
do they have name tag? Like, the name tag say what company they're from, or
that's
how does that work?
I don't know about the
Or you
NMSCC,
just
but
walking up?
yeah, at Fiat Chrysler it didn't have their names on it, so you wouldn't have
Oh,
known.
okay.
Yeah,
So it was.
so it's imperative that
Oh,
you.
that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's like a blind date almost.
That's funny.
Hi. I mean, basically, it's a blind date.
Well,
You don't know who that person may be. You don't know who you may be. So it's kind of like it's a mutual
that's funny.
introduction. It's not like, oh, I'm kind of nervous, or oh, I have to do this, but not knowing them, it's a mutual introduction.
That's funny.
It's kind of cool. I mean, my opinion, I think it's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so definitely like just even if let's say you're waiting in line to talk to a company, like talk to the people in the line. You just never know.
Okay.
You never know what
Don't be
opportunities.
afraid,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. You never know what opportunities are going to come across just by talking to whoever. Because these large
Okay.
corporations, they also do business with each other. So
Well,
just like you may be
that's
waiting in
cool.
line to see, a Ford, for example, same with, another company, large billion-dollar company. So,
Right.
yep. So,
I totally got you.
yeah. So I don't want to,
I totally. Well, then, thank you. I mean, that's.
yeah. So just
Go ahead, Jamie.
wrapping up. Those are just kind of some of the things that I saw at the Chrysler Matchmaker. Really great turnout. Just giving you my, I guess, 4 or 5 years of experience going to that matchmaker in particular, and just conferences in general. Just kind of some of the things that hopefully you can take from it, and moving forward, this benefits you when you're looking at, if possible, starting your own business, or if you already have a business, expanding it and connecting it and networking with other organizations. So, any other questions or comments, Ray?
No, but I did want to say thank you, though, Jamie. I mean, the fact that you were more than welcoming and talking about your experience at the conference. I think it not only can help the people who may subscribe to Global Diversity News or check out our articles, but people out there in general who want to go to these conferences but don't know how and don't know when and where they can go. So I just want to say thank you for providing that information and your experiences. So
Yeah.
it was definitely beneficial. Even me not going to it, I mean, I felt I got an idea of what to expect.
Yeah.
I got the one-on-one, the introduction to the course. So thanks.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
yeah. So appreciate you guys. Hopefully you stuck around for the entire time. I think we're about 40 minutes in. But hopefully I got as much information as I could to you guys. As always, please like, subscribe, and follow. And leave a comment. Maybe you have some questions on a conference that you're going to be attending, or maybe you want to know more information about the Fiat Chrysler conference, or another conference in general. And I'll be happy to contact you back. But yeah, again, hope you enjoyed this. This is a little bit different than what we normally do, but I still think it's beneficial because we're still talking about business and how to grow yours. So this is Global Diversity News. Thank you again, and have a great day.
Have a good evening.